Oh, and don't forget to talk in the mic. And that you do have a live mic.
That's better than a dead one.
I don't know.
Better, it's better than the one that, where was it, someplace in the country, some city councilman, they have them clipped to their,
Yeah,
carried it into the bathroom and left it on.
yeah. You always hear the stories of odd things said.
I did that. I was chairing a meeting in Topeka, and the guy had a problem with his suit, and he walked, not realizing he still had his clip on.
Yep.
And it was funny, the things he said to his wife, you know, about fixing his damn pants.
It should always be this one here.
You found the rain too, didn't you? We all got here right before. God, it looked like it was gonna blow up.
Yeah.
No, I sound like I
Give
was
us a
phone in
weather
the
report.
rain.
Everybody's got one. Are you ready?
Yep.
Are you ready? I will officially bring the meeting to order. Monday, May 4th, 2015, Saline County Planning and Zoning Commission. Welcome the big crowd. Okay, first item on the agenda is appointing of the new commissioners.
We have it kind of informally. I'm just going to read the oath of office and have you guys repeat it. And this is just something Kansas does to make sure that you're willing to serve. I guess if you just want to repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Deborah Bloomquist,
Do solemnly swear and/or affirm
Do
do
solemnly swear and/or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge my duties with Saline County.
and
faithfully discharge my duties with Saline County.
So help me God.
So help me
So help me
God.
God.
Welcome to the Planning Commission.
Thank you.
Yes, and I as well want to welcome both of you aboard.
Thank you.
You're officially now experts on every home business you ever heard of. You're experts on rural fire departments. And we see it all, and all we can do is make good, honest, and fair decisions based on our code.
The other part of this item was to appoint a new vice chair. Fortunately, we gained 2 new planning commissioners. Unfortunately, Jim Jurgensmeyer has stepped down as one of the planning commissioners. And he was our vice chair, so we have to appoint a new one. You are missing a couple of your members today. They're out one's out of state and one's out with a back injury. You get a choice of making a motion and appointing somebody as the vice chair, or continuing it on to the next meeting for hopefully having everybody here to discuss it.
I would ask for a motion to continue it until our next meeting.
I will so move that.
Yeah, I'll second it, yeah.
And
It
just as a point of clarity, when we say continue to the next meeting, it is the next, it's not June, if we don't meet until October, it'll be in that meeting.
Correct.
So we're not making a special meeting just to do this.
Right.
It's just the next regular meeting that we have.
Okay. Okay. It has been properly moved and seconded that we can have a continuance of the election of officers until the next meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. At the next meeting, we will rediscuss that issue. Okay, item number 2 on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
I'll move we accept the agenda as printed.
I'll second that.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we approve the agenda for May 4th, 2015 as printed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Next item is the approval of the minutes of the March 2nd, 2015 meeting. Any changes or comments on the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes of March 2nd, 2015.
I'll second it.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of the March 2nd, 2015 as printed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion once again passes unanimously. Item number 4, application TA 15-101. I'll turn that over to you.
Evening, Commissioners. This application is for a text amendment to the Saline County Code to set term limits for the Planning Commission and the Board of Zoning Appeals. I'm going to go over some of the process stuff first, but mostly because we have a couple new people, and even our newer planning commissioners, I don't know if you've gone over text amendments in a while. As far as the process, first for your vote, it will take, any text amendment takes a unanimous vote of all members. It's not just members present. So we have to have 5 votes at a minimum to make a recommendation to approve this or deny it. If you can't come to a vote, that will come off as no recommendation given, which is equal to saying that you're not going to recommend this. For the Planning Commission, after you guys vote on it, I will report to the Board of County Commissioners on your behalf, and the Board of County Commissioners gets the final say on any kind of text amendment as far as approval or denial. At this time, it takes a unanimous vote of the County Commission to overturn a Planning Commission decision, and it takes a majority vote to approve it. They're also allowed to send it back down to you if there's more discussion on a specific topic. Let's see what I need next there. I will point out that, especially for the new ones, most of your actions are considered quasi-judicial. Quasi-judicial basically means that you guys are sitting as a judge, and you're going to follow very strict requirements as far as talking to the public, as far as open meeting laws and open communication among commissioners. This is a legislative item. It allows a lot more freedom, but I will still tell you, don't have open communication with commissioners. It's just not the best thing in the world to do. If anybody during a meeting, if you have talked to the public about the topic, I would recommend disclosing it during the meeting, because if it's important enough to affect your decision, it may be important enough for other commissioners to hear and affect their decision. I guess I'll get on to the application request. The county commissioners have asked that I present to the Planning Commission a regulation to set term limits on both the Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals. It would be 2 3-year terms. You currently serve 3-year terms right now. And there would be a 1-year break required before somebody is reappointed to the board that they're serving. In most cases, you can serve multiple boards for the county. As far as if you wanted to serve on one of the economic development boards while serving on the Planning Commission, you're more than welcome to do that. I don't know if there are term limits on those other boards, so none of this will affect that. The only thing you can't do is serve on the Board of Zoning Appeals and the Planning Commission at the same time. We only allow 1 member to do that, and at this point it's Mr. Tom Rickstra. As far as term limits, if you term limit out on either the Planning Commission or the Board of Zoning Appeals, you would be term limited out of one or both at the same time. So that is kind of a hazard there. As far as the language, it's pretty simple. Term limits are set at 2 consecutive terms. Additional terms are allowed following a 1-year break after the 2nd consecutive term. That's the part for the Planning Commission. For the Board of Zoning Appeals, it's longer winded, but it's still the same phrase stuck in the middle of their term conditions. The difference, the Planning Commission has a very short adoption section in the county code, and it's broken into specific pieces. The Board of Zoning Appeals is actually in the zoning ordinance, and it's all one big long piece. But the language has the same effect in both places. As far as the county staff's recommendation, I generally don't support term limits unless you're in a community that's large enough that has a large pool of volunteers. With Salina, well, I can't say Salina, with Saline County, we have a population of about 55,000 people. There are about 7,000 people that are in the unincorporated areas that don't count for the city of Salina itself. With both boards, the majority of members have to come from unincorporated communities. So that creates a very limited applicant pool for me to start drawing new members from. The other thing is, typically we do term limits to help break up consolidation of power. I have never seen in 2 years here, I haven't seen a consolidation of power. The other thing we look for is getting fresh ideas and new blood onto the commissions. I'm all for that idea because new thoughts are always helpful. I do like to keep the experience around because unlike most boards that are simply advisory to the county commission, these are regulatory boards and there is more experience required. You end up building it over time to see how these decisions are made. And when you look at the terms that people have served for the Saline County Commissions, you'll notice that you'll get 1 or 2 people that have a long term and a lot of experience. You'll have a few people that are, we'll just call them mid-level, they have maybe 6 years or so. And then we have a few people, and you're here now, that have 1 or 2 years. So natural attrition seems to deal with the need for term limits. Eventually, some of the senior people just decide they've done their job. They want to retire, they want to go back to focus on other things, whatever they need. And the last part I'll point out is all of our boards are volunteer, so you serve at the pleasure of the county commission. A vote by the county commission can remove you from office just as anytime they want. And with that, I will leave it up to you guys for discussion and take any questions.
Thank you, David. I've had several discussions about this in public. I did have a phone conversation with Commissioner Smith. Told him how I was totally against this. And like Mike and I were visiting, yes, in the time we've been on here, this board is at a complete turn. People come, people go. And a couple comments I want to make. In the 12 years that we've served on this committee, only 2 times has our decision been overturned. And I think that speaks very highly for the people that have served on this board. It's been, we've had a lot of great people serve on here. They've done a great job, taken time out of their schedules, go visited job sites, participated in discussion, taken phone calls from the public. And so it says a lot for the people that want to sit up here. And so just from my point of view, I think it is very unnecessary to do this. But with that, I'd like to hear the discussion from the other members. And I do understand the 2 new people, if you do not want to participate in discussion, that's fine. If you don't want to participate in the vote, that is fine too. I know the first meeting I sat into, I did not vote on the first issue. So anyway, just discussion, and then we'll proceed on with our plan.
I have a couple of questions for staff. Does anything in there, when you say that they can come back after serving their 2 terms, that they can come back after a year out, does that mean that at recess then you can set for 2 more terms?
Correct.
Okay.
You would serve a total of 6 years, have a good life for a year, and then serve another 6 years if you like.
Okay. The second question I have is, how is it decided that it's 3-year terms? I mean, could it be like 4-year terms?
I would have to look into the state regulations, but from 1958, when Saline County started this, they set 3-year terms for their commissions.
3-year. Okay. I understand, Dwayne, where you're coming from, and I hear you. You know, you guys have done a great job. I guess I'm kind of betwixt and between on this a little bit. I love the concept and the idea of term limits, but I don't care for the brain drain. You know, that happens with it. So I'm a little bit betwixt and between. My first inclination is to say yes to term limits, but you know, again, I don't like just the 6 years either. If it was more like 8 years. But I'm kind of torn between it because we need people that know what's going on and can sit up here and properly make the decisions. You know, so
How long
that's,
did it take you to feel comfortable with the 3-inch code book?
when I get there, I'll let you know.
Exactly. Have you been given the 3-inch thick notebook
Well,
yet?
I haven't had the privilege.
Oh, my, okay. I forgot about the pop quiz we give.
Oh, man.
It's not Halloween or what is, Halloween or Friday the 13th, anything like that.
That's probably where I come from, because it already lists me as 2 years. Doesn't feel like 2 years. I can hardly say that I'm an experienced member, and the first term is almost over. I mean, the first
Your
term's
first term.
almost over, and that just doesn't seem to carry the experience needed through when you end 3 years after that. And it was just demonstrated that the commission can pretty effectively cause a turnover if they wish it to happen, because we just had a lot of experience leave the board in a short amount of time.
Mike, you want to add anything? don't
Yeah,
have
yeah, I'm opposed to this term limits because it takes a great deal of experience to serve on this board. And here again, you know, the first 2 years I was a member, I just sat here and said practically nothing because I didn't understand what was going on. But there are many, many details we have to know. Transfer of development rights and the FEMA flood regulations and building codes and rezoning and subdivision exceptions. So there are many things we have to know to be able to judge that. And you know, I think of, as Dave says, we are quasi-judicial. So in a way, we are judges. And if you have an experienced, competent judge, you normally don't term limit him. You know, if he goes on for 2 or 3 decades, that's acceptable. So I do, for a lot of politicians, I do support term limits. But since we are appointed by the county commissioners, and they could remove us anytime they want to, and as it's been said, we've had a lot of turnover here. Just by normal attrition, we do have turnover. So I think it's important to keep the senior people on the commission.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I got a comment. I gotta play the devil's advocate. I'm kinda like y'all on the other end down there that, I can see it going both ways. I see in our federal government, we have a problem with people that's been in there forever or that, we all would like to see them out. They never seem to be booted out. So there should be some term limits there. On the other hand, when the newcomers come in, it seems like the staff is running the country because the new guys don't know anything, so the staff ends up doing it all. We don't, the staff's unelected, and here we get what's been going on because they think that's what's going on, or what should be done. It is a kind of a peculiar situation. There hasn't been any, like you say, problems, but at the same time, the new blood coming in always seems to help. And I would like not to see any problems with the old adage. I've talked to several people in the county. I'm disclosing that I have talked to people to see their feelings on it. I've talked to former members of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they're kind of like me. They can see it going both ways. There's pros and cons to each side of it. So as of right now, I don't have my mind made up. It's just kind of an interesting conundrum we're in here. I don't know the answer to it. I was an old head in a previous job. I had a lot of experience, but at the same time, the new kids coming in had good ideas. So where do we stop and come? As far as the part of knowing this whole book inside and out, I'm not intimidated by that statement or that procedure at all, simply because we don't handle the whole book on any particular case. We handle one part of it, and anybody can study 2 or 3 paragraphs or a page and figure out what's going on. It isn't rocket science.
Right.
So the old, I've been around here for 40 years and I know the book inside out. Congratulations. But I don't see any need for anybody knowing the whole book inside out, because any one of those things could change and then we'd have to start all over again. So that's basically what I gotta say. It's just, I don't know. It's gonna be up to however we vote. So it's I can see both sides of the fence.
Sure, good. Okay,
One more thing, David. You know, is there anybody that has turned in a interest form of being on this commission?
I haven't checked it in the last, well, since everybody was appointed. I don't have any additional interest forms that the commissioners were considering.
I think there was like 3 or something, or was that for the appeals board?
There was Ms. Bloomquist and Mr. Vidrickson that they had appointed. Now my mind's going blank, but there was one gentleman appointed to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Yeah, Mr. Baffa,
Yeah.
thank you. And then we had Mr. Juergensmeyer, Mr. Ferguson, and Mr. Stromberg, who were incumbents, if you want to say that. They were sitting on the board already. 2 of those were reappointed. Mr. Juergensmeyer has not given me any expression of interest for another board. He's stepped down to enjoy his life for a little while.
It just seemed like they were talking about it the other day, and there was like 5 or 6, and then these 2 came on, and then that guy got appointed to the other, so I thought there might be a couple left over.
No,
that
we're
didn't make
actually
the grade.
missing one position on the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Okay, still missing one, okay.
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
personally, I think I see both sides too. I would agree that, personally, I tend to favor term limits. If nothing more than the public appearance, that seems to be part of the problem with the commission right now and their view of what's going on here. The implications that were made, that everybody was here too long and that, conversations could happen and that they had become too powerful. I feel like though there is some outs that people can be removed from the board, and so I'd be comfortable not having the term limits. But in general, I feel like they're usually a good idea.
Another thing for term limits is when you've finished with this board, maybe you can move up. Maybe your next step would be county commission.
I thought the gone fishing sign was the next thing.
Well, that's the next step.
That's the next sign that goes.
After we've gone fishing,
8 years in, it's gone fishing. Any other comments, Bob? Do you wanna-
Well, I'd just like to say that I'd like to see the term limits denied at this level. I'm all for them at the ballot box, but I'm against them at this level. If people in the county don't like what we're doing, they can tell their county commissioners. The county commissioners say, we're going to take care of that, or they remove the county commissioners if they don't see it that way. So I'm pretty much Mr. Wilson on that.
Yeah, and I'll agree with that. I mean, if there's an issue, when you come up for reappointment, you're not reappointed. If there's an issue, you can be removed, right? So, and like I say, in the 12 years that we've been on here, we've had excellent boards. People have come and went and did different things. And once again, I just think we've always had an excellent board. Commissioner Smith called me when the 3 appointments were up and asked me about them, and I praised all 3 of those members because they had served well, and told him that we had a great board, and I was very proud to be part of it. So yeah. So anyway, with that,
I have one more comment. You know, another reason I oppose term limits is because of the history. You know, if you're in a certain position for years, you have a history of this county. I can think back 10, 12 years of applications we've discussed and things we've done. And if a similar application comes up now, we can rely on our knowledge of past history. So I think we'll all agree that having a history of something and the experience of that is really important. And the new people, they don't have this history.
Yeah, institutional knowledge is always a good thing.
and being out in the county and seeing what works and what doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough one. So, any other discussion? with that, I will close the discussion and entertain a motion either way.
Point of order real quick, you have to open it to the public. Still have to do it.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. Okay, according to parliamentary procedure, I must open the floor for discussion. Seeing none, I will now close the discussion. I will bring it back to the chairman, or back to the commission. Okay, with that, I will entertain a motion.
You know, I don't like negative motions, but now, what is this TA?
What I would recommend as far as motions, I always recommend to keep motions positive.
Yeah,
Even if your thought is to deny this, if you vote for approval, when it doesn't go past, it's an automatic denial. If you vote for denial and it doesn't go past, it's not an automatic approval. You're still discussing it. That's why I always say go for a positive motion and let the votes
So the
fall.
wording of the motions need to be either
It's-
approve the term limits, or that our bylaws state that no term limits be imposed. Is that, tell me the
That-
exact wording. of
I would
which-
make a motion to approve term limits as presented, because they were up on the screen there for you. You can make good motion to deny the term limits. Like I said, I prefer positive motions, but that's me. You make the motion you need. You can always continue, you can always table for more information or more discussion.
No motion, it would die too, wouldn't
If nothing happens and the chairman calls it for a lack of motion, it will be considered a failure to recommend, which at the county commission level is considered a recommendation for denial because you didn't recommend to approve it.
And would that take a majority vote on their
Yes.
part, or a 5-0
Unanimous.
vote?
It would still be a unanimous vote to overturn the planning commission.
Can we make a motion that we continue as is?
The continuation would just pass you off to another meeting to discuss it some more.
Okay.
Well, I think her not really continuing this, but
The,
leaving the bylaws as.
as it
It's,
is.
it's not
That's what I
bylaws. I
say,
want, this is a regulation. It's not a
Okay.
bylaw.
So
There
is
is,
this a new regulation?
yes,
Because we have no term limits in place now.
correct.
So we're not, because that's what I was was a motion to leave the bylaw alone, but. we-
Regulation.
But we do not have that regulation. There is no regulation now pertaining
Correct.
to
There-
term limits.
What I would do is, if you make a motion to approve, everybody that doesn't want this, say no.
Vote no.
Everybody that wants this, say yes. If the majority says no, then the recommendation is to deny term limits. You can make that, that's where it starts to get a little confusing. You can make that motion to say, deny the change. And,
So, I guess.
and when you make a motion, I will clarify for everybody before you vote.
I would ask for a motion to approve the application TA
As
with term
presented.
limits imposed, and then we'll vote accordingly, which I will vote. Everyone will vote their own way. But it looks to me like the best way is to put a motion up to approve this, and then we'll vote yes or no.
Correct.
And if we vote no, they have to, the commissioners, have to have a 5-0 vote to override us.
Correct.
That is what I would ask to happen.
Okay, now, do you still need to move, or did you just do it?
No.
I need a motion to approve it.
Okay, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that we approve TA 15-101 as it is written.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a second. Staff, is there any further wording I need to put on this motion? Do I
Nope,
need to amend the
as-
motion with any further wording?
No, it's as presented, and we're okay with that. It was the text that, sorry, my computer
Right.
went blank already, but
Okay.
it was the text presented on the screen. If you will vote yes on this motion, you are saying that we should have term limits. If you vote no on this motion, you are saying we should not have term limits.
Does everyone understand? Everyone straight on this? Okay. Okay, it has been properly moved and seconded that application number TA 15-101, yeah, it's properly moved and seconded that we do pass application TA 15-101. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will ask for a vote. I want to vote by hand. All those in favor of approving the amendment, raise your right hand. All those opposed to the approving of the application, raise your right hand. It appears we have a 5-1 and 1 abstaining vote. So the motion has denied.
Rickster.
He abstained. We have, so the motion
The
has
motion fails.
failed
Correct.
for term limits to be imposed.
Correct.
Thank you, board, for good discussion. Okay. It's only downhill from here, so it just gets easier. Are you ready down there? Come on. It only gets easier.
I'm listening.
Okay, item number 5, additional items. Don't resign.
I
Any,
have there's no meeting set up for June, so
Okay.
the next meeting, we'll just send out emails and call you all back in.
okay,
We are under a flood watch, so have
Okay.
fun driving home.
good. Okay. Well, once again, I want to welcome the 2 new board members. I'm glad you came aboard. With that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded, we adjourn.